Hi, Harsha. How you doing?
I'm very well, Pradip. How are you?
I'm good too. It's sunny after so many days.
It's still a bit cold here, though. I live up near the hills, so it's a bit cold here.
And you're in your studio too.
I am. So the heater is on. It's perpetually on. But yes, I am in my studio, and this happens to be my office as well because I do have a day job. So
Yes. So for those of you watching this clip, Harsha Sree is a Indian Australian musician. He ran a band called the Fifths, who did all the rounds, with their interesting mix of electro Bollywood influenced beats. And Harsha, you were the guitarist of the band, right?
Yes, I was.
And you also basically ran the band. I mean, you managed the band as well.
I would say that we collectively managed the band. I think the high point of the band is that we came up with an EP. We recorded pretty much in-house with some support from some mix engineers. And so the project management of that wide project, that's something that I did. Which I think also because in my day job, I do project management for an IT company. So maybe that skill was transferred. But otherwise, I would say that the band was pretty democratic. Everybody ran the band.
That's amazing. And it was interesting because as one of the things I sort of, the impression I had about your sound, Fifth Sound, was this meeting point you had established sonically between, say, club music, K-pop, and Bollywood.
Yes. Interesting that you mentioned K-pop. K-pop does have an influence in my life, and also I think the other band members as well. My wife, she speaks Korean very fluently, and she learned it, and then through her journey of learning the music, there was a lot of K-pop music that was continuously played at home. And around the same time was when we were writing a few songs as well. So as you know, those influences were perhaps carried through into our EP music as well. But I find not just K-pop, but generally where we were in terms of what we were trying to do as a band was to play for people to just have fun, just shake a leg a bit. So that's the reason why we chose, or we naturally sort of gravitated to sort of pop, dancey kind of sounds. And because of our Bollywood influences and Hindi background, we chose Hindi as the medium. And we found that generally, at least in Melbourne, and we performed in Sydney as well, we found that at least Australian audiences, they don't necessarily worry too much about the lyric as long as the beat and the groove is established. And because that was the format that we were presenting. We were not really a singer-songwriter sort of band. We were more a sort of a party band. So that sort of worked well.
Yes, and it was good. And I think it hit the mark in that sense because your music was very groovy. It was very clubby and catchy as well. It would get people up. So so I think you hit the mark with the sound that you were propagating at the time. So Harsha, even before the Fifths, you were involved with music back in India itself. So tell us a bit about your musical journey in India, and that will segue into how you one day decided to come to Australia and continue pursuing that side of yourself.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't go too far back, but the quick version of the very long story was I started learning the drums in school or outside of school, and very quickly moved to the guitar, to playing something a little bit more portable, such as the guitar, only because, I couldn't show off to the boys and the girls that I can play an instrument,
especially the girls.
Especially the girls. That's correct.
Being a young man, but then at the time,
That's right. That's right. The guitar or the acoustic guitar stuck with me pretty much throughout. My mom is a bit of a singer, so my mom and I used to sing. Like I used to play the guitar, and then she used to sing old Hindi Bollywood songs.
Oh, lovely!
And through her, I learned a bit of old songs as well. In fact, one of the things that the Fifths were very connected to as well, that we all sort of really liked those retro Bollywood sound, the songs, because it had a lot of depth and meaning and very nice melodies, actually.
How far retro
well
are we
aware.
going here?
I would say 60s, 70s.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Lakshmikant Pyarelal and that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not as far back as Naushad and Hemant Kumar and all. Maybe a few of them, but yeah, more so the 60s and the 70s, where there was disco influence as well, and obviously rag based melodies. So yeah, melodies are something very dear to me. So, and I carried that throughout for a long period of time. When I was just about to finish my undergraduate, I was involved with a very dear friend who unfortunately is no more, but he used to run a sound business, and he had a DJ, and all of a sudden one day his DJ decided not to come to a party, and I found myself DJing, and I had no idea about it, but I found it very fascinating. So from there, it led on to me trying to understand what DJing is all about, apart from just pressing buttons and playing music for the crowd. I think I established that I like to perform. I like to be in that stage sort of a situation where I'm able to control the mood of the audience. And that's how I got into DJing. So when I came to Australia, I still remember, this was in 2001. My mum had packed big suitcases, but I had to take off a lot of clothes and put a lot of CDs that I had. And I brought them along with
priorities
with me. Exactly right. Exactly. And these were all like CDRs, like where you
even better
selected song. Yeah. And you have made your own track lists and everything. And I couldn't bring my CDJs with me because I knew that they could be taxed on customs and all. Anyway, long story short, I did a few, in my student time, I did some DJ gigs. And then fast forward to 2012 is when I met a few more musicians. And yes, as I said, the Fifths happened. And from that point on, it was kind of an accelerated journey. We did play with a few noted artists, one of them being Lucky Ali, and two things that he said they stuck with us, at least with me, quite deeply. One is less is more. So don't worry about putting everything in a particular song. You can have multiple songs, but each song has to basically be framed around one idea. And keep it simple, kind of a thing. And the second thing is, until you do your own music, you're not really exploring what you want to sort of communicate. So until that point, I think the Fifths were mostly doing covers, and we used to basically be asked to come and play in community events or festivals. And people usually expect covers to be played because they associate with that. So and from then on, I think that EP journey began, and we wrote some original songs without any idea, right? And I naturally gravitated towards production because I have a bit of an engineering bent of mind as well. I just wanted to know everything and how everything is done. So yeah, and fast forward that, all of that confusion comes with production and the many lockdowns that unfortunately Melbourne has seen last year, and
continue.
That continue, unfortunately. But last year was a turning point. We moved into this house couple of years ago, but I had collected all this gear, but because of the lockdown, I just found myself in this room. So I decided to make it into a studio and basically taught myself everything from YouTube and a few courses. And yeah, I've got a functioning studio now.
Mm. And in fact, you're also, not only are you making your own music, but you're also mixing for other bands and artists in your studio.
That is true. So I'm at this point of time, I'm working with a very dear friend of mine. He's a very good keyboardist, and his band, or rather, I should say, a band that he's part of, and it's a gospel band, and they have written some amazing original music, and we have done all the tracking of the band in this room. And yes, and I'm just in the so the project is still active, and we anticipate that the mixing and the mastering should be completed by the end of the year, and then it will be released towards the summer of 2021, Australian summer.
Yeah. So you're basically taking advantage of this hibernation to spend more time in as an excuse to spend more time in that cave of yours.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't say it's an excuse. In fact, I think it revolves around this cave, you know. Yeah. It's I have to say it's a blessing. That there is a space like this. You know, I'm able to do a lot of music, a lot of learning stuff. As I said, you know, I mean, there's so much one can learn on YouTube, just on YouTube actually, but also on Patreon and one-on-one courses and some other concepts such as mixing and mastering. Mastering is not, I mean, I can't do mastering here. I don't have the gear, neither the room is treated, but at least basic mixing to some point where the next level of mixing or the final level of mixing and the mastering can be taken over. That certainly can be established from this room.
Yeah. You also do a bit of DJing, or you have done some live streaming, I think, during the second lockdown last year in 2020, the long winter one.
Yes. Oh, yes. That is basically me being bored. Rest of the thing, obviously, how much can one just keep making music and learning, right? So I just wanted to have some fun, and I was like, this was the time I feel last year when Melbourne was in about 10 weeks or 12 weeks of continuous lockdown or something.
Yeah. It was a pretty long one. And it was around the same time, as now.
This was you're right, exactly the same time last year, where I did have a camera, but I wasn't sure, well, how do I play Facebook Live or live stream with sound? I had no idea, right? Like decent sound. So from one thing led to the other, and then I went live once, and then if some people who saw me, they said, just looking at a single camera is kind of boring. Like, you know, I mean, you might want to have multi-cameras, and I'm like, how do I even achieve that? Like, how do I have multi-camera set up? How do you switch different cameras while you're DJing? So yeah, and I think over a period of about 10 or 12 weeks, which is about 3. I was just in this rabbit hole of live streaming and everything that comes. Look, I don't want to bore you, but really, I think there are some fantastic. They're simple and effective technologies out there. It's not much of gear that you need, and then you can have a functioning multi-camera live stream setup. What I'm intending to do is to just take that bit more portable and take it outdoor as well. I follow a few DJ groups and events. They do such a thing where they basically go to location and have multi-camera setup, and DJs playing live. Sometimes just in the wilderness as well. So there are some plans that are in the works, and hopefully I'm able to see it to fruition soon.
Yes, and you live in the right location for that.
Yes, that's right. So hopefully when it's not as cold as it is today, even though it's sunny, as you mentioned,
not as sunny right now.
Is to do not as sunny right now. yeah, one of the things that I'd like to do is to do some sunrise sets, which also seem to be a thing that is lately being popular. So yeah.
So basically, get all your gear out there, get the camera set up, and obviously, the internet connection would be a key issue there. Obviously, with the
5G should be adequate, to be honest. In fact, 5G is pretty solid, reliable.
For that kind
I've
of
done
stuff.
some tests. Yeah, I mean, or the worst thing is, even if it's not a live stream, at least it's recorded, and then you can stream it once you're back in the studio or back in a Wi-Fi area.
So definitely, we are going to be expecting some Harsha outdoor live stream sessions coming in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think this is something. This may be the impetus for that. To be honest, and for the longest of times, I've been pushing it back on the list of things to explore. But maybe this conversation can perhaps has brought it up into the top 3 at least.
into the agenda. And,
into the agenda. That's right.
Yes. So that's the other thing. Apart from performing with the Fifths, you are also an electronic music aficionado, and you also have performed as an electronic musician.
Yes. I think again, it's just in the constant quest of trying to keep myself busy and find a sound. I think I'm still far from finding a sound. I've never really settled in that, or even a genre for that matter. I know that there are some genres that I sort of usually gravitate to. Currently, for the last few years, it's been progressive house. Not so much tech house, but progressive house, maybe melodic techno, in the electronic music genre. And with what comes with that is obviously when you look at this, there's obviously a huge following of different genres, and certainly these genres that I mentioned as well within Melbourne. I know I find myself interacting with people, and every now and then there might be a collaboration. So similarly, I found a good friend of mine who's now a very prominent DJ in Melbourne. He goes by the name of Ripple Factor. That's his artist name, and he regularly performs in the scene here in Melbourne. And we did some initial sort of work together where we were both playing at the same time as a duo, as an electronic duo. But electronic music is something that is, I think I'm still sort of just surfacing. I'm just just exploring at the very basic at the moment. Obviously, there are gurus out there who have done some fantastic work. So I would say that I'm still very, very new into the game, but I certainly know a little bit, but there's a lot more to be known.
Of course, one of the downsides of the lockdowns has been, for us musicians, has been the fact that we are unable to go out there and meet other musicians or see other musicians and DJs perform, and also
absolutely
ourselves perform. That has been a bit of a downside to this, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I think if there's one thing that I find myself struggling with is inspiration. As to, what do I do next, kind of a thing, right? I mean, and this was not so much of a problem a couple of years ago, because I would literally just say, all right, I'm just going to go check out a DJ play, listen to a sound, or check out a band. And then there is this overflow of inspiration and motivation to continue the journey. I think, as I said, I fortunately, I have a room where I have plugged in everything so that it's ready to go. But even then, I find myself sometimes just sitting on the couch and trying to read a book about music or watch a YouTube video. And really, I'm like, no, it's not sort of really touching my heart. I think it's like the human connection plays a big part in that inspiration, and what you learn from interacting with other people. Yes, you and I are interacting over Zoom right now, but it's a completely different element when the same conversation is happening in person. We can feel the vibe, you can feel the excitement, and that multiplied with so many more people when they are in a common space, whether it be a club or whether it be a performance area, is just unimaginable. Or rather, it's not like untransferable, even though when you're at your own place. So that's one thing that I feel the pandemic and the lockdowns have unfortunately made us see. Hopefully the positive side of it is, when things open up, we are actually a little bit more thankful for these things and not take things for granted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And perhaps kind of really value the experience of being able to go out and experience a performance, a live performance.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think as Melbournians, we say this too often, but I hope it is. We don't stop saying it. We are actually very lucky in the arts and culture scene here in Melbourne, and hopefully as things open up, things come back to normalcy quicker than longer. Then we can get back to those music performances and other arts as well sooner rather than later.
Meanwhile, I imagine you are just going to carry on soldiering on to lift your skills and get deeper and deeper into your work, music work, till in preparation.
Yes. Every time I do get an opportunity, I touch base with the few musical or musician friends that I know, including yourself, Pradip. So I think there are some collaborations in the works. As I mentioned, there is this project about live streaming that I want to get back onto, which I'm preparing on. My goal really with this is to not just have a back-to-back DJ set but also have a little bit of live performing, electronic performance, making it a bit more hybrid, sort of a DJ set. And then there is another project that I'm currently working with, which is a dance band, which is just in the initial stages of writing a few songs. So I'm happy to be working with them as well, because those guys they are veterans, I would say. They've been performing for many years with some big names. So it's still under the wraps at the moment, but my role in that band is more of the electronic musician itself. So which is going to be new to me, where I'm not going to be with a guitar or singing, but it's going to be, or even if I'm singing, it's going to be behind a vocoder or like one of those Daft Punk kind of effects. So, so I'm still sort of finding what exactly am I going to do in the band at this point of time, because we're writing the music. Obviously, I'm bringing my DAW skills. So that's the Ableton Live, or basically writing the songs on software, those skills, and recording and a bit of sound engineering skills, so that I can do all of that. And then subsequently, when we perform, let's see what exactly I do in the band. So there are a few projects that are in the works, and as I mentioned, there is some mixing work that I'm doing as well. So my plate is full, no doubt about it.
And of course, you're also got a foot in the corporate world. You are actually a project manager for a company, for an IT company. Am I right?
That's right. That's where that's what keeps the heater running on cold days like this.
And the cappuccinos and the pizzas.
That's right. That is absolutely right. Well, look, I wouldn't say it's fortunate or unfortunate. I think it's just a choice that I have made, that I'll continue to basically utilize what I have studied through many years of toil in university, and this is a hobby, a passion that I would like to sort of slowly gravitate towards as well. But I don't see myself being a 100% musician in terms of time, and also in terms of expecting income from this, at least in the near future.
Yeah. How do you find do you find sometimes there is that one is taking over the other, one of your pursuits is taking over the time from the other pursuit? Do you have that kind of balance issue sometimes?
I think I would say initially there was, not anymore, especially not now, because it's all in the same room. So I can sort of compartmentalize. I have found that it's more so within a certain, like within music. For example, I had the tendency to sign up everything that sounded interesting when it comes to music, let's say. And so I found myself in many music projects at the same time and not really giving, remotely 100% to any of those, and hence being annoyed with myself. So I think I've learned to scale back. So I take a few things and I try to complete them before. And even if it takes longer, I'm not really I'm chasing anything at this point in time, at least. So I'm not sort of bending backwards or hitting myself if my own self imposed dates or deadlines really are not made due to something else, for example. In saying that, yes, you're right. I think I do have some sort of a routine. I do find myself sometimes unable to meet these deadlines. For example, I'm working with this band where I'm mixing, and sometimes I'm not able to work with them on a certain time. So I find the only way that works for everybody is to be transparent and communicate about it. So to answer your question in short, yes, it does happen. But when I'm working with others, I'm very transparent and ensure that nobody's basically wasting time on my account. And when it comes to my own goals, I feel that there is a larger goal that which is to do music in one way or the other and improve myself 1%, let's say, on a daily basis. And as long as I'm sort of moving towards that direction, I'm not going to really beat myself so that I can still keep sane and basically not get stressed, because that's the killer, right? That's the confidence and the motivation killer that, hey, I really wanted to do some like an EP this year. But I'm not finding the motivation, and now I'm stressed, and now even more so I'm not finding the motivation. So I don't want to. I mean, I've been there, so I think I've learned from that. I just don't beat myself too much with it anymore.
That's a very healthy attitude, I guess, and I guess it is the way to look at it. It has to be the way to look at it, approach it. This particular balance issue.
Yes, and I think, look, I mean, again, and I'm not trying to be philosophical here or anything. I think in some way I am slowly, even more so as I'm growing more mature. Hopefully, my wife doesn't think so. All in due course, all in time, as they say. When things have to happen, they will happen. As long as you're moving towards it, even if you're taking baby steps towards it. As long as you can, I can say to myself, okay, today I didn't take maybe a leap. Today I took like a baby step. That's fine, as long as I'm moving towards it. So my moving towards it is, have I done something about music today? Have I learned one thing, or have I learned to tune that kick a bit better, for example? So it's just that. I think because I want to maintain that balance, because otherwise, as I said, there is no point. I'm not really trying to prove to anybody that I'm a better musician or a worse musician than someone else. I'm not really competing. It's more so because there is an exploration. For me, it's more an exploration. And through this time, it's more like a journey. So I'm bound to meet fellow travelers. We will shake hands. We will sing and dance jolly good, and then people will be on their own path. If I'm a bit slower for somebody else's path, then probably our journey is going to be short-lived. If somebody else is going to be as at the same tune as me, maybe it's going to be longer. But at the end of the day, for me, it's a personal exploration. And yeah, this philosophy, I think, has also because of the long hours that I've spent in this room by myself, and I realized that there is no point hurrying things up. Things will happen when they have to happen.
Absolutely. Harsha, that was an absolute pleasure to have this chat with you. And I wish you all the best in that pipeline that you mentioned, all those projects. I wish you all the best in accomplishing those projects.
Thank you very, very much, Pradip, for the opportunity. And thanks for speaking with me. And I have to say that, I've told you this before as well, you and your work, it's been a source of inspiration for me. And to your band, to your entire band, actually, they're all a source of inspiration for me. So all the best for your goals and your pursuits as well. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Great pleasure. And the feeling is mutual.